Well, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. And today I want to share with you this little lesson that I did in acrylic, painting this little snowman. It's a decoration that a friend of mine shared with me, and I decided to give it a try. So I hope you do too. Anyhow, happy painting. And I won't be painting the background, just the snowman, and we'll see what happens. It looks like a little bit of a challenge, but you know what? We'll see what we can do. So when I edit the video, I'll put that in there. Okay, to start off, I am going to just sketch this little guy out using, I'm just going to first of all kind of gray the background. So I'm going to use a little bit of this transparent oxide brown and a little bit of this ultramarine blue, and just sort of put a little layer down there. I can also use a little bit of this liquid glazing medium. I'll put a little bit of that on my palette because that can help spread your paint around. So that's just, I'll put that in the list of supplies. I just use this gloss glazing liquid from Golden. So you can use that and just sort of get a little layer down before you get into the whole painting a white snowman. I feel like I need to have a little base layer. So that's just a really thin layer, as you can see. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'll just sort of sketch it out a bit using this little mixture, the brown oxide and the ultramarine blue, and just sort of use a little bit of a darker mixture and kind of sketch this guy out. I want to put his feet somewhere in here. And my drawing is not going to be perfect by any means. I'm just sort of doing this for fun and for this little lesson for this video. And the beauty of sketching in real light like this is if you don't like what you got, you can always just sort of start over. Pretty easy. It's got the cutest little hat there that kind of swerves upwards and then kind of curls up there. I just want to make sure I have room for everything to fit in. If you don't have that transparent brown oxide, you can always use like a burnt sienna. And so I'm just kind of working away at drawing this cute little face. And then it comes into the little scarf. Got to make sure we get the scarf in there. Scarf kind of drifts off this way. And then it's got those little dangly things coming down. And we got this little curl thing here that goes up, and then more dangly threads from the ornament go that way. And I'm sure once I start painting, I'll find all kinds of things that are out of place, but it is what it is. It's not going to be perfect, but it will be cute. So, okay. All right. So he fits on this gesso board, which, yeah, by the way, I'm using one of these ampersand gesso boards from Blick, and I will put a link in the description to some of those, which you can buy. And if you use my link, I do get like a tiny bit of money from that they give me for selling for putting the link in my video, but that's about it. So anyways, now I'm going to, I was gonna switch brushes, but that brush that I pulled out of the batch was not the greatest. So let me just see what else I got here. I just kind of moved my studio recently, so everything's a little bit out of order, and I gotta go pretty much buy all new brushes because I had been using acrylic before, but also oil paint and not water-based oil. And when I moved, because I'm in a smaller space, I'm doing all water-based, so I kind of, this one was used for acrylic only, so I'll use that. So anyways, we have our little snowman here, and I'm just going to use a little cobalt blue and some white, and I'm going to kind of make a shadow tone for under the hat there. So I'm going to use a little bit of cobalt and white. There's different ways you can mix up grays, by the way. So you could use a little bit of that transparent brown oxide and cobalt and white, and you get this sort of nice gray color. Another way is some Viridian. Get some Viridian and transparent brown oxide and white. And that gives you a little bit more, obviously, of a greeny gray. So I tend to use that mixture when I'm doing things with like flowers more. But either way, if you can kind of see how it works for you. So, okay, that's my dog barking, and she's on a mission here. It's my puppy growling, looking out the window while I paint. Being being the guard dog for me. I think I'll just go and put those dots back on after. I just kind of think that's going to be too picky. And then I'm going to go get some white and make a little lighter mixture there and put in that. There's that white that's getting the light in the picture. And the shadow kind of blends in right about here. And because I'm using acrylic, it doesn't blend as much. So I just went and got some of the kind of shadow color to sort of blend it there. I should have used thicker paint, then I wouldn't have that problem. And okay, and then what you can do is just sort of, you can wipe your brush and use even a little bit of this glossing medium because your paint's still wet. You can kind of use that to sort of blend the paint. Get a little bit more. And of course, I'm going to add more white. Back on there, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. I'm going to just block in some other things before I get too picky on that one detail. So for example, I'm going to block in the jacket, and I'll do the same thing, kind of keeping in mind a bit of that shadow and underpaint. Add a little more white, and there's a highlight there. A little bit of shadow there. You kind of just block some of that in. You can use a little blue in the shadow just to make it. Okay, so I'm just kind of putting in some of those tassels roughly in this darker shadow color. You could use a little more blue in there just to have, just for fun. Because later, if you want to show off the white, you got to have something in there that's a little bit darker. So same with the little booties, sort of. There's a real shadow side to this guy here. And kind of put the fluffy part of the coat in, just using a bit of that same mix, which is just our gray mixed with a little more cobalt blue. And just sort of fluff that around a bit. Okay, now we can start blocking in the top hat. And again, I put out a black that's like an impasto black, and it's not going to be black enough. It's kind of got some medium that makes it thicker, and I just kind of accidentally put it out thinking it was white. So I'm going to go with this Mars Black Golden. Give my paint a little spray and keep going. So here's my black. I'm just going to block in the top hat. And I think this little ornament is from Michael's. And my friend Stevie gave me this little picture to paint, and she'll probably be doing a watercolor painting of this soon. So you can look up her channel at Stevie Paints. And she's been doing a lot with the watercolor. Very talented with watercolor. Well, and other mediums too. And I have a student that paints snowmen so well. She is the snowman master, I tell you. So, and then I'm going to block these little booties in. Okay, looking cute. And while I'm blocking blocking the black in, I'm gonna go and dab the little eyes in. All right, so now you'll see that I was trying to fix the spacing. So what you can do if you do what I did and kind of messed up the spacing, just go get some of that snowman shadow color that we made and go in and kind of fix those. I'm just gonna look at my painting. It's so hard to, I'm not complaining, but it's hard to see what's going on when the painting is facing like flat down. So I just have to take a quick peek here on the eyes. All right, we can fix the edges up later, but at least they're not completely going off the wall. Okay. All right, forgot to put out some orange. Okay, I didn't put out the orange, so there we go. Now there's some orange. Well, I'm really starting to like this little character. Just gonna use a little bit of that transparent brown oxide to put in the little leg. Which is just a little thread, by the way. And I just used a little transparent brown oxide for that. Okay, now I'm going to use some of this Cad Red deep here, and I'm going to mix a little bit of that black in there just to tone down the hue a little. I'm going to leave that kind of clear right there for the highlight. And just put in that scarf. Alrighty. And what else is red on there? Well, I'm not putting in the berries. And I'm not going to put any of the plaid on until I know that's dry. So I think it's almost dry. Actually, it is. So whenever I do a pattern like with a plaid or something like that, it's always good to go with a smaller brush that you can just kind of draw the lines right on. And let's see if I have anything that I can use here. Well, I'll use this little brush here. This is one of those little Zen acrylic brushes from Michael's, I think it is. And I'm going to use a little bit of that darker red mixture and some of that liquid glazing medium because it gives it a little bit of that transparent effect. So you can put that plaid on there lighter than, you did with the scarf. And so there's going to be the buttons there, and then there's two major kind of lines going down just on either side of the leg. So that's how I'll kind of gauge it there. Might even use a little more of that liquid medium to make it a little more transparent. And there's one around the arm. And one around there. And there. And then there's a couple marks of it there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got my little plaid marks down, I don't want them to stand out that bold. So I'm going to go get my green ones on there first. And it won't, I have some time because I put that medium in there, and I'll do the same. I'll mix a little bit of this medium in there and put some of the green and maybe one stripe of that goes across there and kind of down the side. So now that I've got that on there, I don't really want it to be so stiff. So I'm going to get my paper towel and just see what I can do. Just sort of dab. Not dabbing it around, I'm just dabbing it kind of off a bit. There. And then now you can go back and work on it a little. So what I'm going to do is I can start adding some of the highlight to the snowman. So I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow ochre into that and white into the mix, so it's a little bit warmer. And put in that highlight that's here. And same with up here. And now I want to get the rest of him shining bright, so I'm just gonna go and mix something up to lighten up all the other bits of snow there. But not as bright, so keep the shadow areas lighter, and you can kind of tweak your plaid a little. Helps to break it up a little too and kind of reshape some of the bits. And there's a few, you can add a little bit of just kind of those horizontal lines in the plaid just to kind of break them up a little. And then you can see it looks more like a fabric now. And same thing, go back in and with the reds in the plaid and sort of you can adjust some of the squares of darker red, and go in and bring some of that out. Just kind of following it like a little bit of a road map, the plaid there. And get the green and do the same. There's a little bit of a darker bit there. And where it crosses the red here. And it just starts to take on a real painterly kind of way as you work on it, sort of it just takes on its shape. And of course you don't want it to be perfect like a print off of the guy's outfit, or that gets kind of boring anyways. But it's kind of fun. It's a little bit of a challenge, but it's also okay because it's a painting, so you don't have to have it exact. You know what I mean? Okay, so now we've got pretty much everything blocked in that we need to block in. Oh, except for the nose, of course, I forgot. So I'm going to add a little orange into that orange, and the shadow needs to be quite dark for that nose. I mean, the carrot. Could add some of that transparent brown oxide, or if you're using burnt sienna, and then get that dark half in, then you can go back and add the lighter highlight, the orange. So you could even add a little yellow ochre in there and just go in and put the the top part in, and you could even add a little white to some orange to get a real there. So a real light highlight to that nose. Nose. I keep calling it a nose. And then you can go and add some of the red highlights. Now I just have out Cad Red Deep. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of the orange to Cad Red Deep, and that kind of makes like a Cad Red medium to light. I could have just put all those other colors out there, but I was trying to keep our little snowman simple. As simple as I can. And then put a little bit of that highlight on there. And it kind of comes over here. A bit of light comes over here. There's sort of a pattern on that little scarf, but so you can just kind of loosely put in some different reds. I use some plain Cad Red Deep there too. Leave that in the shadow, and then there's a little bit of light catching the edge of the scarf, so you can. It also now, once you start painting, you can start to see the shapes a little better. And sort of the angle. And you can mix up some of the darker red again with the black. Or if you want, you can put alizarin crimson out and make a darker red that way. But I'm just going to use that black with the Cad Red Deep. Wow, so that's kind of cute. And don't worry if you do what I just did, just go get your brush and get a little bit of that shadow mixture again, the brown and the blue and a little white, and just go tuck in a little bit of the shadow underneath the snowman's face there, just to make it kind of stand out. Put a little shadow in around the hat there. Just trying to blend that area a bit because it got kind of too many colors there. of gray. Okay, so there we go. Now I can go to the highlights on all the white. So for that, I want to make a real nice warm white. So get a little orange in there and your white, and that'll make it look really bright. The adding a tiny dab of orange paint really works magic. So now you're going to go and add some real bright highlights where you see them. Like up here, is a real bright spot. Let's try not to mess my whole painting up. And then down here, there's some highlights here. And right where this fluffy coat is, I'm going to just add some crazy strokes there with this little brush is working quite well for that. So, and just kind of make some fur with that. So that brush works good. I'll leave it. I'll try to remember to put that in the description too. And same with the boots. I'm going to just blob on some of those fluffy brush strokes for that. Gives it a really fun, really fun look there. And then same with the little tassels. We can just kind of really loosely put in some more detail in those. And go back and add some of that shadow color if you want to fix that up a little. Same within here. If you went too crazy with the light, you can go in and just add a little bit of that darker mix. Just throw a few darker strokes back in just to give it that shadow look. And then I think the only thing I have to do is add a little bit of a lighter color. I've got out some of this acrylic paint that's like supposed to be gold. It's really strange whenever you have metallic paint. It's a really weird texture. So I'll just use some yellow ochre and a little white to kind of add some of the needs to be a little darker in that side of things. That's good enough detail on that. And then I think you can add some highlights to black. I would just use a little bit of cobalt and some black and a little bit of white. And then you can get but make sure you have more blue in the mix. So put a little cobalt and black and a little bit of white, and you can get just something to put on the boots so it kind of adds a little highlight. You can do the same with the rim. Just add a little white, black, and cobalt. And then you could do the same up here. Just put a little, doesn't need to be exact. And then if you really get brave, you want to put a little highlight on his little eye. Just get a little tiny bit of paint and put some little bits of white there. And then you're set. And you could do the same with, you could add a little white to that cad red and orange mixture, and just you could put a little highlight on the scarf too, just for fun. And if you don't like it, you can always just kind of dull it down a little. So, and yeah, so I really like this painting. I don't think I'm going to do much more to it. You could paint a backdrop, but I kind of, I think that it would kind of take away from the fun, kind of loose feeling of it. Kind of want it to look sort of like something you could just frame as is with the texture. I don't know if you can see, but from when I wiped away when I just kind of put the paintbrush with all the ultramarine blue and the transparent brown oxide, it just kind of left some nice strokes, and I thought kind of just makes it feel like an interesting painting as is. So I'm just gonna leave it and not mess it up, because I kind of like that feeling that it has. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'm not gonna play around with it anymore because I feel like I'll destroy the fresh look of it. So I hope you do. And if you're on my Patreon channel, don't forget to post to Bold Strokes. I'll put a link in the description in Patreon. And then you can share what you paint and get feedback and encouragement there. And for everyone else, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.